I'm Matt. I'm the CEO and the founder of a company called Dispatch.io, and we're a sponsor here today, as you've probably seen our logos around somewhere. I am super passionate actually about email, and I know not everyone here actually does email, but I'm hoping my passion can translate to some interest in you today. So I'm a former engineer turned email expert, and what I do and what I try to do with our company Dispatch is help companies send people email they actually want. So just a slight background on us, we've been doing this email thing for since 2013, one of the top 300 email senders in the world. So we're one of the little big companies that you don't really hear about, and have some really great investors. Some background on this presentation, this talk, really quickly, is we actually early on did a lot of content marketing, and we wrote this guide called The Pirate's Guide to Email. And this is really, at that point, we were talking to a lot of startups and small companies that had, hundreds and thousands of customers, not millions of customers, and learning about their challenges with email and engaging their customers. And so, based on all those conversations, we developed a lot of content marketing around that. The surprise was through that content marketing, we actually engaged with a lot of enterprise brands as well, and eventually developed relations with customers such as Microsoft through this. And so what that really taught me was that there's all these interesting things that startups do really well with email, and enterprise can learn from, and enterprise is really interested in as well. And so this talk today is try to share some of those learnings about how it can apply to enterprise with regards to email. All right, so specifically today, I'm going to get really boring and talk about transactional email, which I know is probably everyone's favorite, but I'll talk about what that is, why I think they're really important, why our customers think they're super important, go through some bad examples, go through some good examples of these emails, and then I'm actually going to go off script, and based on some of the conversations I have with people today, I really want to talk more about the content and digital side and what maybe some of you people can learn. And so I have some anecdotes I'm going to share that I don't have slides for, but I think should be really interesting. So engaging customers through transactional email. We did some work earlier this year with the CMO Council, and we were trying to understand the enterprise landscape and what marketers are thinking of, what CMOs are thinking about. And one of the main things one of the main learnings from the study was that 87% of CMOs are not realizing the full revenue potential of their customers today. So 87% are not maximizing for LTV today. The other interesting parts of the study was looking at their usage of email, and over half, 64%, were failing to either effectively leverage or leverage at all their transactional emails, which was a shock to us given how integral these emails are to the overall customer lifecycle. So there's a direct correlation here between these customers failing to leverage the full potential, revenue potential of their customers, and failing to leverage transactional emails, which we thought was really, really interesting. So really quickly establishing some background, like what are transactional emails that I'm talking about? Why do I care about these? People might think of these as triggered emails or system-generated or automated emails. This is like the lifeblood of your customer communication. This is when someone is creating an account, they get a welcome email. When they're purchasing, they're getting a receipt email. When you buy a flight, you're getting your e-ticket. These are like the most valuable emails you send because they're being sent to customers as they are actually purchasing with you and engaging with you. Other examples like an order confirmation, an abandoned cart, shipping notifications. Uber sends a really amazing email that I love. Your ride receipt from Uber always has the amazing subject line of like, your Thursday morning ride with Uber, which is the best subject line ever because it's always like personalized at the time of day. But I digress. These emails are like integral in the customer lifecycle. Why are they so important? Because these are communications and touch points with customers who are already engaged with your brand, and you know that once you spent all the time and money and effort to acquire a customer, their long-term value of that customer, that's going to be driving your profits overall. This is just one stat we pulled and one perspective on this. They're saying 80% of your future profits are going to be derived from 20% of your existing customers. Just trying to emphasize how important that long-term value and that long-term relationship with the customer is. We're no longer in a world where you can have someone come through an ad, click through the site, buy something, and then go away. That's crazy now. everyone knows today that you need to be establishing a long-term relationship with the customer, and transactional emails being so important part of that life cycle are really important thing that I don't think many marketers really focus on. So I've kind of been harping a little bit on the life cycle aspect here as an illustration of it. But you have to believe at every point in the customer life cycle, when they're going through a research or they're making decisions, they're experiencing your brand, no matter what you're doing, there's transactional emails that you might not be thinking about, but they're receiving at every single stage throughout this life cycle. All right, so just tied into the startup part. What do startups do so well here that enterprise can learn from? So there's two things that startups do really well here, and they're relatively simple, but they're kind of interesting. The first and most basic is that startups, they don't have the same silos you do, and that's just the fact of like you have 10 people or 100 people in a room, and that's the entire company. There's no barrier to a marketer or a designer or a brand person going over to an engineer and be like, hey, you need to update the logo and all of our emails. We just changed our branding. There's no barrier there. There's no silo. Silos are created when you scale. And so because of these lack of barriers and silos, startups can do a lot more interesting things a lot quicker, and they're agile. But this isn't new. Everyone knows this. The main thing that startups do really well here that I think everyone should really take to heart is every startup, when you're working on your initial product, when you're scaling, when you're Uber scale, you care about the product. It's all about the product and the product experience, and they treat email as part of that product experience. Go back to that email, the Uber payment receipt that you receive. It looks like the Uber app. It's got the same branding. It's amazing. It's phenomenally designed. It has that subject line, which is like dynamic to your day and your ride and to you. Like the level of detail, the attention spent on that email, it's being run through by a product team, and it's a product experience. But when you're an airline and you're sending a receipt for a flight confirmation, you're not thinking of that as a product experience. That's now like a booking system owned by a corporate team somewhere, and they're siloed away from the people who are passionate about making sure that airline's website is really amazing. If you take away one thing from my talk, is try to start thinking about your email as a product experience, not as like a promotional thing or purely marketing thing. It should be a product that you're working on with customers. So how bad can transactional emails really get? I kind of give a hint here on the airline side, but these emails can be really bad. I don't think, no one wants to receive an email like this. No one thinks this is a great customer experience. This in particular is a Canadian airline called Air Canada. They spend a ton on building up their content and in their marketing and their website and everything else. Why would this pass for okay when a customer has finally made a purchase and they're that engaged? Like this is crazy. But they still do this. Every company sends this. It's amazing. All right, this is basics to exceptional email, and I'm going to go through this a little bit quickly. If you're sending out a marketing email, there's no way you're sending out a marketing email that is not consistent with your brand. You're ensuring that the most up-to-date logo is dropped in there, the colors are on point, that the call to action is going to be on point with whatever is latest in your app or your website. There's no reason your transactional email shouldn't be there as well. There's no reason you shouldn't be personalizing in a transactional email. In any email, you should be personalizing this if you can. But on the personalization side, something to call into consideration, it no longer just means like use your first name or last name. Something we're seeing a lot of companies try to do now, and I'm a really big advocate is use your loyalty program and your rewards program or whatever you have like that should be embedded in the transactional experience, should be part of the product experience. If you're signed into an e-commerce store that has a loyalty program, every page on that site is going to have something to do with the loyalty program, showing how many points or how many dollars you have saved up with that loyalty program, and it's embedded into the e-commerce experience. It should be exactly the same for the email. The email should have that loyalty program, that experience, that product embedded in the email. There's some basics around understanding your audience on not sending a do not reply. At the top of this email is like a do not reply. That's like really basic now. You can't be doing that. Mobile design is now like a de facto thing. I'm not going to harp on this. I think everyone should know this. A common failure in transactional emails that I don't think many people think about is having a single call to action. There's this concept of a dead-end email. And this is an email that you're sending today as part of your customer experience, whether it's from your e-commerce site or anything else. And it's email that you're sending based on an action, so you need to be sending to customers. But there's no call to action in it. There's no button. There's nothing for the customer to do. So an example here could be like your order has shipped. Lots of companies send your order as shipped email, but some companies still send in your order as shipped email that doesn't have a button that says track my order. That turns into a dead-end email. This is like a very simple test you can do of looking at your current emails and different lifecycle emails, whatever else you're sending, and looking for these dead-end emails. And it's an opportunity for you to automatically improve them and turn something on that's not currently doing anything for you. I'm going to skip through these slides really quickly. There's only one thing I really want to focus on. This is my crash course on how to create an email. I don't think everyone here today does email, so it's not super relevant, but I want to talk about this. If you're sending out low open rate, low click-through rate emails, you have to ask yourself why you're sending that email. Because if your customers aren't opening it, not clicking on it, maybe you shouldn't be sending that email to a customer. Maybe you should be doing something entirely different. And it's as my passion is sending people emails they really want. If you're in this category, my passion is to help you not send that email. All right, let's look at some really good and really bad emails, and then I'll go into anecdotes. This is a really great, an amazing welcome email from a task management and project management software called Asana. So this email actually has a really big fail in it for transactional emails and everything. I've talked about it, and it has zero personalization. It doesn't actually say, "Hey Matt, welcome to Asana" or anything else. It doesn't say, "Welcome to the dispatch team on Asana." So it loses marks on that. But this is an incredibly clean, on-brand email. It uses animations with the Jiffy really well to convey what the heck Asana is and what it actually does. And it has like a really clear call to action on kind of like the first steps to get involved. And so it ticks the boxes for what an amazing welcome email really should be. This is an order confirmation email that many of the people here, your companies probably send these. This is from an e-commerce brand called MeUndies, and what I love about this is, it's not going to surprise you, it embodies the product experience that is the MeUndies website, and it embodies their entire brand. They're a super fun brand, and in this email, they're really celebrating, thanks for your order. They're also a very personal brand, and so you can see below the hero image, they have full pros being like, thanks for your order. We're excited. We're going to send you some information. It's coming up. Below all that, you can see they do have the typical order receipt information. It's all there. It's still a standard order receipt email, but they've above the fold. They've got all the things that you don't typically see, which I think is super interesting. At the bottom of the email, MeUndies has included a reward program where you can invite a friend and get a kickback, which is really basic, but this is so integral to leveraging transactional email to actually increase LTV, like I talked about earlier. This is something that almost every single transactional email you're sending today you have an opportunity to do something like this. One of the anecdotes here is actually going back to the early days of Dropbox, so real startup, where their referral program was one of their key drivers of user acquisition and growth. And one of the things that Dropbox did, and it worked really well for them, is every single email they sent, including forgotten password emails, would have some text at the bottom saying, talking about their referral program. And if you want more space, refer a friend. Even a forgotten password email would have that call out to the referral program. And that worked amazingly well. On top of that, it was a beautiful email. Dropbox has an amazing design team, and they were passionate about making that email look great. But they really brought it in. And I think that's a key learning on how a startup leveraged their referral program really intelligently across their every touch point they have with customers, including transactional email. And MeUndies is another good example here. This is a password reset email. these are my favorite emails because guaranteed there's people in the room that, your website sends these today and they're completely plain text. And that's okay. I don't want to knock plain text email. There's actually a time and a place for plain text email coming from businesses. It's all about knowing your customer. If your customer wants plain text, send them plain text. That's great. Crisp is not saying plain text. They're sending a really great and beautiful email with a simple call to action to recover your password. So when you get this, you can quickly click through. Just because you add branding and everything else to a forgotten password anymore, any transactional email doesn't detract from what it's trying to accomplish. What Crisp has done here, which I absolutely love, they've included in the bottom a call out saying tired of forgetting your password. This is essentially a cross-sell. There's no affiliate fees here. They're not actually making money, but it's a cross-sell. It's saying you obviously have trouble remembering your password. Honestly, who doesn't? So maybe you should try a password management tool. And here's 3 that we think are really great. And they call them out: 1Password, Dashlane, and LastPass. And those are 3 great, really password management software. They're not getting any commission or referral fee from this, but what they're doing is they're trying to make this a better product experience for the customer. And who wants to have to go through the process of clicking the forgotten password button, going to your email, getting the email, and clicking back through? It just makes sense that they're advocating for password management software. So absolutely love this. I love it for 2 reasons. I love that they're really focused on the customer and making this a really great experience. I also love that they're doing a cross-sell in a transactional email. And in some cases, something like this is completely altruistic. That's just really amazing. In other cases, it calls out you can do cross-sells in transactional email. You can do ones that make you money, but you should do it extremely tastefully. And this is a great example. There's an abandoned cart email I want to call out as well from a brand, Chubby's, that many of you may or may not be familiar with. There's a lot of parts of the email that I really love, but the number one thing I'm going to call out is that there's a lot of science and machine learning, and this is really hyped up now. And so if you read the latest blogs or headlines today about what you should do in email, they probably read advice that's telling you that you need to machine learning in your abandoned cart emails that's highly optimizing the time and personalizing with different items in the cart and doing a bunch of crazy things. So that's probably the common accepted practice right now. I love that Chubby's has a very simple abandoned cart email where it doesn't really talk a whole lot about the cart at all or the items you were potentially shopping for. It's just all about the brand and who they are and being true to that. So I think that's really cool, and it performs. It does really well for them. And so it's a clean email. It's on brand. Looks just like the website. That's really key. Has a really creative and clear call to action. Teleport to your cart. This is a little bit nerdy, but at the on the right-hand side here at the top, you can see there's some text, and they've actually included in this a really cute pre-header as well. Which just goes alongside the subject, which is great as well. Overall, this makes a really great abandoned cart email, and also makes a great example of you don't always need high-end machine learning and everything else in order to send the best email. Sometimes it's just making sure the content and copy is right and true to your brand can do a really good job getting you there. So how do all these companies get there? Well, I talked earlier about how they are trying to break down silos, and there's lots of different ways to do that. The big one, though, is that they're taking these emails and they're embodying them as a product experience. And I can throw out numerous examples of this, of how treating an email like a product experience is going to make all the difference. We've been working recently a lot with Forrester, which everyone's probably familiar with. And one of the key examples that Forrester points to of building amazing customer experiences is an example from American Express. Who has ever traveled to a different country and then tried to use your credit card, and then your credit card gets denied, and you're like, oh shoot, I forgot to call my bank. So you get on the phone, or get on a payphone or the hotel phone and be like, hey, yo, Visa, it's Matt, I'm in France again, my card didn't work. So that's a terrible customer experience, and American Express is extremely forward-looking and data-enabled. So they went and said, hey, like, we know when you buy an airline ticket, like, we can, they have that data. Creepy, not really. So they could tell from their machine learning team, they could tell, okay, we know when this person's buying airline tickets, Matt's probably going to France in 3 months. And so they could just turn on, hey, we'll automatically add a flag to Matt's account that he's going to be in France in 3 months, and if he makes any purchases, we don't need to flag his account. And that's going to make Matt's life so much better because he's not going to have that awkward phone call and that awkward thing at the the bar when he's trying to buy that beer and his card gets denied. If American Express just did that and I just went to France and used my card and nothing happened, I would probably appreciate that it went well, but I wouldn't fully appreciate it that it went well. So what American Express did, which is really great, they also send you an email. They say, hey, like, our data science team noticed you're probably going to France, and so don't worry, we've got your back. We've flagged your account for that trip. They don't stop there. Then they include a link. You'll click through. And hey, if you have any concerns, you can click through, check out your account here. And they have another button if you want to learn more about what we do for like trust and safety. You can click this other button to learn more about like how we protect you when you're traveling. This is amazing. So American Express has covered my back with this cool data science stuff they did. But now they've communicated it to me and given me a heads up. So that's cool. Now I feel a little bit better. But then they go a step further and be like, give me a chance to go back to their site, go back into my American Express profile, engage the brand a little more, learn more about how they better protect me, how they differentiate themselves within the market against their competitors. That's so cool. And that is an amazing product that's in an email, right? The entire customer-facing component of that product, all the work they did, all that data science, is one email they send me. That's super cool. And that's what I think you need to think about when you're, thinking about transactional email, is try to think of it as a product. What can you do in here that's going to create this really unique experience? You can do this by thinking about these emails as extremely valuable touch points. We didn't talk about this, I don't have a slide on this, but transactional emails see crazy high engagement rates, and you can understand why. When you order something, you open the order receipt right away. Amazon sends you a shipping notification. You're damn sure I opened that shipping notification right away, and I probably click through as well. These emails see crazy high engagement rates, and so they're prime opportunities for you to focus on and think about how we can use this as a channel. It's almost like every time you're launching a new marketing campaign now and you're pushing out a new promotion, you should think about, is there a transactional email we're already sending today that we could tie in with this promotion? And it could be as simple as like, hey, for the month of September, we've got a new referral program we're launching. Like, that should be in your welcome email. Maybe that should be in your forgotten password email as well, or order receipt, anything else. There's a whole component here of how do I get access to these emails, and how do I, as a marketer, as a brand marketer, as a content person, how do I get access to transactional email? And this requires that breaking down of the silo, which I totally glossed over. This requires technology change, requires politics, it requires you going to where these emails live now, likely with an engineering team or with a vendor or someone else, and being like, hey, I care about these emails. I want to have ownership of these emails and making that happen. And you can do it. We work with, we and other email vendors work with tons of customers who have made this decision. They've been proactive and say, hey, I'm going to start treating my transactional email as a product experience. I care about these customers. I care about the life cycle, and I want to make this really great. And you can do it. The key step is saying you want that ownership and moving forward with it. Oops. Okay. I have one more anecdote for you before I talk through these notes. I talked with a lot of people today that are more on the content side and content marketing. So I have a customer story I wanted to share about that if you'll indulge me, and you have to because I'm on stage. So we work with a brand in New York, not a brand, a website. They're called DonorsChoose.org, and they're amazing. They're a nonprofit. Teachers can go on Donors Choose and put up a school project that they want to work on. It can be like, I want to help my students view the next solar eclipse, and they're going to take little cardboard boxes, punch a hole in them, and view the eclipse. And they're like, I need $50 to buy cardboard boxes. And teachers can go and put those projects on, and anyone, including all of you, can go to donorschoose.org and choose to sponsor one of those projects. And it's all local. You'll be like, hey, let's find a project in my hometown in San Francisco or wherever else. Let's find a teacher project I can go support. And so as this is a donations platform with the, there's teachers, there's donors. There's a lot of activity happening on this platform. There's a lot of transactional email going out as well. And so one of their interns was working on a project where the intern was going and looking at some of the emails they were sending out to donors now. And if I remember correctly, the specific email this intern was looking at was going to people who had previously sponsored a teacher, and that teacher was they posted a new project. So this is like they're gonna go back, and donors are gonna email all the previous sponsors and say, hey, Mr. Wood is my science teacher in grade 12. Mr. Wood has a new project. Maybe you should go check it out and sponsor it because he sponsored his last project. Now the interesting thing was this intern went and looked at this email, and the language they used to talk about this group of donors, I think they called them like teacher sponsors. And so the email went something like, hey Matt, you're a former teacher sponsor of Mr. Wood. Mr. Wood has this great, amazing new project you should go check out. Like, here's what Mr. Wood has to say about it. Like, click here to view the teacher sponsor page. And I'm kind of simplifying it there. But the interesting thing was that the intern looked at this email and they're like, what's a teacher sponsor? Like, why are we using this language? It doesn't make any sense to me. So the intern went to the marketing manager and what's a teacher sponsor? And the marketing manager was like, oh, that's like our lingo, how we talk about people who have previously sponsored a project, blah, 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 everything else. And the intern was like, oh, and they were like, well, what if we simplify that? And what if we talk about them this way? And instead of calling them a teacher sponsor, we could just call them hey Matt, you being a supporter of Donors Choose, or you being a supporter of Mr. Wood. Let's call them supporters. And I'm changing up some of the language here. But the key here with the intern was this is verbiage, this is internal verbiage, it doesn't make sense to me. Marketing manager was supportive. They're like, well, this is just internal lingo we've used for years. We've never thought about it, but sure, let's try it. They actually had phenomenal results. This email overnight started seeing much higher click-through rates, more people come back, more people donating money, and it was this massive light bulb for the marketing manager. They're like, holy crap. We've been using internal lingo for years to talk to a segment of customers, and none of the language actually resonates with them. And we would be completely blind to this had we not done this small change in a transactional email and rolled that change out in 10, 15 minutes. They went back to their entire marketing organization with the surface issue of hey, we need to change how we talk to these people. Our lingo is, we're using internal language. We haven't actually properly done this. And they changed their messaging across the board. So what's the takeaway I'm trying to get to here is that because of the nature of transactional email is real time, these emails are going out all the time, every minute to your customers. They're an amazing test bed where you can try copy changes, messaging changes, new logos, new hero images, new call to actions, and get real quick feedback, real time on, hey, did that change a click-through rate? Did that work? So as you're thinking about a greater campaign you want to run or something else, or if you're questioning, hey, are we using the right language to refer to this customer base, you have this amazing channel, this test bed where you can experiment and try things, and it's relatively low cost and there's low risk to your customer testing there. And if you're able to leverage that, you might be able to uncover some of these same insights, similar to what Donors Choose did. And they went forward from that and set up a whole bunch of tests they wanted to do. They didn't realize that they had all this stale language across the company that they were using. So that was my anecdote for today about how the content team actually should care about transactional email as well, because this is a channel for testing and experimentation that you're likely not leveraging today. So back to the report we did with the CMO Council earlier this year. It's one of the startling numbers, 87% of enterprise marketers are not realizing the full revenue potential of their existing customers. I mean, this is crazy. 87% of the CMOs self-reported that they're not trying to maximize the LTV of their customers, which seems kind of insane. But the one that doesn't seem, might not seem as insane on the face of it, but is crazy to me as a complete email nerd, is that more than 50% of them don't even care or aren't even leveraging their transactional emails yet. They don't care about, or they haven't been trying to leverage their order receipt or their welcome email, which is the emails you're sending to customers when they're the most engaged, when they've converted, they've given you money, they're now contributing to your bottom line. That's when you want to celebrate with them and you'll be like, high five, this is great. So at that, I think it's time for a change. I had a shameless plug in here. Here it is. So we help with all of this. Shameless plug over.